All right, chapter 2 is all about decimals. So our first section is just in general kind of being able to tell what decimal is bigger or smaller than the next. And really how you do that is you kind of just go down the line until you find a difference in a number, and whatever number is bigger in that same place value will be the bigger decimal. So let's remind ourselves, for example, we have Catherine that ran the Boston Marathon in 2004 in 2.4075 hours. In 2005, she ran it in 2.42 hours. So let's just write those, if I can get my pen to work, side by side. 4075, 2.42. So they kind of are done, and we could put, if it makes you feel better, 2 zeros at the end, because zeros at the end of a decimal don't change the value. So we look, we have 2 and 2, that's the same. After the decimal, that's the tenths place. Both have a 4 in it, those are the same. In the hundredths place, which is the second spot after the decimal, one has a 0, one has a 2. So which time is, here's the kicker though, which time is faster? That means which one was smaller, because obviously you want to try to run a race in the smallest amount of time. So which time was faster? Well, actually it would be this one, because it's the smaller number. She ran it in a quicker time. Okay. So 2.4075 is smaller because when you compare them, 0 is smaller than 2 when you look at the same place value. So we're going to kind of do the same thing, looking at some numbers here. Let's get rid of that. So 30.12 or 30 and 12 hundredths is how you say that. 12 hundredths, because that's in the last numbers in the hundredth spot. And 30 and 4 tenths. So which one is bigger? So obviously they both have a 30. We get to the tenths place. One has a 1, the other has a 4, which means that the 30.4 is bigger. Remember, the alligator wants to eat the bigger number, however you want to remember that. The open part goes towards the bigger number. And so in that case, it's 30.4. All right, so 7.7 or 7.700. Remember, zeros at the end, at the very end of decimals, with nothing after them, have no value to them. So both, basically, those are both 7.7. So those are equal. Those are the same number. So again, we go down the list of decimals until we find a difference, and we see which number is bigger, and that makes the decimal bigger. So we have 5.701 or 5 and 7 thousandths, 701 thousandths is actually how you pronounce that, I'm sorry. And 5 and 699 thousandths, because that's the thousandths place there. So we look until we find a difference. Well, 7 is bigger than 6 in that spot, and so it's going to make that decimal bigger. All right, so when we have to order them, kind of the same thing we did up above, except you just have more to work with here. Okay, so we kind of want to see which one is smaller. Now, when this one is, when there's no decimal, we could kind of pretend that this has like zeros after it, right? Which would actually be our smallest number. So 8 would be our smallest number. We want to look what comes next. So we have a 1, a 0, a 7, a 4. Well, 8.03. Okay, so I kind of like to cross them off so we know. Look for the next one. Well, we have 8.11. 1 is smaller than 7 or 4. And we like to cross it off. And 4 is smaller than 7. So we're going to round out our numbers there. Okay. Same concept here. Now we have some different numbers to look at. So make sure you look at the 1 spot there. So we have 3. Obviously the 3s are going to be the smallest. But 3.48 is smaller than 3.84 because 4 is smaller than 8. So 3.48, and then obviously our other 3 will come next. Okay, so get rid of that. Now we look at the next ones. Well, 4.3, that's going to be smaller than the 4.4, 3 and 4. So those two are, whoops, 3, 8. 4.4, And we round out with 4.83. So we're just kind of comparing there. Sorry for the messy handwriting. The last part of this section is rounding. So when we round to the nearest, when you're asked to round, in this case it's going to ask you to round to the nearest hundredth space. First you need to find the hundredth space. So I'm going to go down and underline all the hundredth spot, which is the second number after the decimal. So those are all there. What you want to do, here's kind of the rule, is, okay, look to right of place you're rounding to. Okay, so in this case, one space to the right would be the thousandth place. And if 5 or greater, 5 or greater, round up, so actually go up a number. If less than 5, I like to call this just cutting it off, but I'm going to say round down, or I'm going to use this phrase called cut off, because you're not actually kind of rounding down, you're just cutting off the rest of the numbers. So let's take a look at examples here. So if we're asked to round to the nearest hundredth place, that means our new decimal should only have a hundredth as the last decimal, only 2 decimals. So in this case, if we look one spot to the right of where we're wanting to round to, it's a 5. So we're going to round up. So we're going to take that 3.01 and change it into 3.02 and cut the rest off. Okay, so we round it up because of that rule right here. This rule right there. All right, find the hundredths place, look one spot to the right. Well, 3 is less than 5, so we're going to, again, only have 2 decimals. We're going to chop everything off. We're not going to round the number down like the actual place down. We're just going to chop that off. So we're left with 1.50. Notice since we're rounding to the hundredths place, we still have always 2 decimals left. Okay, find the hundredth spot, look to the right. So we have 22, and to the right is a 5, so we're going to round up. So that's going to leave us with 6, 7. We turn that 6 into a 7 because we were looking at that to round up. Here, look to the right, it's a 4, it's less than 5. We're going to chop it off. And we're going to make sure we still have 2 decimal places there. Okay. Sorry about the messy handwriting, but again, we're looking at ordering, we're looking at rounding there.